I'm gonna be hyped in this intro.
It's just the intro. It's not even the Clash recap.
Hey, I'll explain it. I'll explain my view. Just
Oh, I know
don't
you
judge
will.
me.
I know. If I can not laugh before doing the intro. I just need to look straight into the camera and I can look at you because if I try to explain the recap and look you in the eyes, you're gonna laugh. All right, here we go.
Oh, those $60 hours, man.
All right, here we go. All right. Racing is finally back, and this week has full of is. God.
Come on, man.
Here we go. All right. NASCAR is back, and this week has been full of action already. Welcome back to another episode of The Last Lap. My name is Jimmy, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host Matthew, as always. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got to talk about the clash that happened the other night, and then Daytona 500 qualifying, and we also got to talk about the duels. Make sure you guys are subscribed because we're going to come out with back-to-back videos for the first time. So there'll be a video out today, and then there'll be another one out tomorrow. So make sure you guys are subscribed and make sure you guys are stayed in tune for those. Make sure you follow us on Instagram because we post the news right away in between our videos. So without further ado, let's hop into the Clash recap. So the first race of the NASCAR season was the Daytona Clash, which was an exhibition race that was ran on the Daytona road course. It was 35 laps, and it consisted of 21 drivers. So how you were eligible for that is you had to have won a stage or been in the playoffs last season and a few other circumstances. But all the big names, most of the big names were in the race. It started off, and there was a competition caution at lap 15 since there was no practice for the event. Pit strategy was actually a pretty big factor in the race, which we'll get to later on. The first, I guess you could call it big story, is that Kevin Harvick just struggled the whole night. He couldn't really buy a break. He spun out at least 2 times, maybe a third, if I'm not mistaken, and he's had a rough night. Another story, Joey Logano, early in the race, he hit one of the turtles, which is one of the curbs that's made out of plastic, and he hit that pretty hard, and it jacked up his bumper, and he can never really recover from that. Cole Custer had a really strange incident where he got wrecked, but he stopped the car, and there was no real big damage, but there was some type of fire underneath the car, and that ended up causing him to go a few laps down. I think he came back in the race somehow. Martin Truex is one of the big stories because he had one of the best cars, and so the first mistake he made is that under caution he missed the chicane, which is a kink in the front straightaway, and he drove right through it and didn't go around and do the corners right. So he had to do a penalty for that, which I think is kind of dumb. I'm sure Matthew thinks it's pretty dumb too. Pretty dumb penalty.
It is what it is.
But that set him back. But he made a charge back to the field. He got all the way back up to the front of the field. And on the back straightaway, there's a bus stop. And not like a physical bus stop, like a turn bus stop. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. But through that turn, there was a bunch of dirt from the track because drivers would slide their tires through it and their splitters and hit it and kick it up onto the track. And that was the issue. And Martin Truex Jr. came off the corner and slid and spun out and crashed into the wall. It was. I can't say I've seen anything like that happen before, but he literally just spun out and hit the wall and ended his night there. That set up a really late caution, and pit strategy came into play again. Chase Elliott, who started in the back and never really got to the front, stayed out, and a few other cars stayed out, but a few drivers like Ryan Blaney Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, a few others came in and pitted and got fresh tires. So that gave Chase Elliott the lead with the restart. And the restart was with 5 to go. And Chase got out to a pretty good lead. But Ryan Blaney started catching him because he had fresher tires. With 2 or 3 laps to go, Blaney was able to get to Chase and pass him for the lead. But that didn't mean the race was over because Chase Elliott was actually able to stay with him somehow. I'm not really sure how Chase was able to stick with him. But he was on Blaney's bumper the whole time. White flag drops. They're all the way around the track. Chase is trying to make a move. And then they come to the final chicane, which we'll insert the video clip here. And Chase makes a really bold move to the inside. Blaney kind of comes down. They make contact. Blaney spins out, hits the wall. And then Kyle Busch in 3rd place, just way far back, sneaks by as Chase is trying to gather up his speed again. Kyle Busch goes by, takes the win.
Banking for the final time.
It's going to all come down to this braking zone.
Try to force a mistake is all Chase Elliott can do. Push him. You know he's going to push him hard. Man, he's got brake. Look how the brakes are hot.
He gets there. He's there.
Brakes are
Elliott inside in the chicane. Pounds Ryan Blaney.
Here comes Kyle
Busch. And it's a drag race to the line. Kyle Busch is going to steal the Busch Clash.
Our topic to debate, I guess you could call it, is going to be who benefited the most from the clash. So I'm going to let Matthew give a quick recap of the race and let him cherish this moment because I know winning an exhibition race means so much. But so Matthew, what's your reaction to this? And then who do you think benefited the most, or what team benefited the most from this race?
Oh man, this rally energy really kept Kyle Busch tonight. But I know. I'm not supposed to be celebrating these non-points races for Kyle Busch standards, but after all we've been through last season, all the pain and suffering that we had to go through, winning like the 34th out of 36th race of the year to finally win a race. So it felt good to at least win a race. I mean, again, to start getting some momentum going. But in all seriousness, no, this is Kyle Busch's 2nd win in the Clash. The first time he won, it was again another last lap pass. This time was side by side with Tony Stewart. So that's 2 wins when thrilling last lap passes. But that whole final lap was interesting. When I got to rewatch it again, I noticed Ryan Blaney at that final lap. I thought Ryan Blaney was going to pull away, to be honest. I thought he had that win in the bag. But Chase Elliott was sticking with him that whole time. And I think Blaney was getting ready to blow out his brakes. I think he was getting ready to have brake failure because I noticed there was this one shot right before he spun out that the camera zoomed in. The rotor was literally almost on fire, basically, like glowing red on fire. So I think it was having brake failure, and he couldn't brake that well. And that's why you saw Chase Elliott basically diving in those turns so good. So I think that's why Blaney couldn't really pull away because he was really having severe brake problems. I mean, that whole Blaney and Chase Elliott, when they got together, I mean, that's the last lap. You got to go for it. I mean, it is a points race. I mean, you're not going to lose anything. The only thing you're getting is a lot of cash, but or whatever money you get in that race. But I mean, Chase Elliott spun out Blaney, but Chase Elliott that ended up losing a lot of momentum, and that allowed Kyle Busch to gain all that ground. Because that whole time, Blaney and Elliott were racing really hard against Kyle Busch to just close in. It was like 3-second gap, I think, when he took the white flag. He gained all that in one lap because they were battling real hard. And so yeah, it was. As for Busch, this is definitely good for him. I mean, he has a brand new crew chief, Ben Shore. I've been really critical about how how they better make this work, because I feel like Adam Stevens was the best crew chief Kyle Busch has ever had. So this is definitely a good start for them. Even though, I mean, they probably weren't supposed to win that race because those two were side by side, but we still won. So that brings up the confidence for this new crew chief and them getting that chemistry going. So, well, that's one win. Let's see if we can try to make it 2 for 2 tomorrow to Duel, and then Daytona 500 is the ultimate goal for us.
So now that we covered the clash at Daytona, we're going to discuss Daytona 500 qualifying, which took place on Wednesday night, which is a first because it usually happens the Sunday before the Daytona 500 in the afternoon. But the major headline is that Alex Bowman was able to start on the pole for the race, and his teammate William Byron is going to be on the outside of the front row. So what that means is that those two starting spots are secure for Sunday, and everybody else is going to have to race in the duels on Thursday in order to determine their starting spots. Now, Alex Bowman and William Byron still have to race in the duels, but as long as they don't wreck, then it doesn't matter where they finish. Those two starting spots are still the same, and they don't have to worry about it. But let's say, for example, somebody starts 10th in their duel and wins the duel, then they get to move up in the starting order. So just for the front two, it doesn't matter, but for everybody else, it's up for grabs for where they start. Another side story is that there are drivers that have to make the field because they're not charter teams, which basically means they either have to qualify on time, which they did on Wednesday night, or they're going to have to race their way into the duel on Thursday. And the two drivers who qualified on time were David Reagan and Ryan Preece. I think that caught both Matthew and I off guard. But we'll discuss our predictions for who's going to race in a minute. But so as far as my predictions for the Daytona 500 pole, I picked Chase Elliott to get on the pole and Bowman to start second. But I did say that like it could be any Hendrick car because I know all four of them are very similar in speed. So, I mean, I was wrong, but I was also kind of right because I did select Hendrick cars, and I did say Hendrick cars in general would get the front row. But, yeah, that was my picks, and then I'll let Matthew reveal his picks and how he did.
So my picks were Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin. Those were my two picks for who was going to be on the front row, but that did not come true. Bubba Wallace, though, is going to be, as of right now, starting fourth, which is really impressive for a brand new team. He was also fastest in practice, which is also really good for that team as well. A noticeable thing, Ryan Preece, an open team, is going to be in the top 10, 8th place. Wonderful for him. And David Reagan, who's also an open team, will be starting outside of top 10, but he's locked in as well. He's always been a good restricted play racer, so that doesn't surprise me at all. The two cars I thought they were going to be locked in were Cindric and Gralla, because Cindric's a Penske car, and then Gralla, I personally like Kaulig Racing. That's one of my favorite teams. And they also made it in the 500 last season. But as for the duels, I think both Cindric and Gralla are going to make it into the 500.
Yeah, as far as dual predictions go, I'm going to go with Gralla and Cindric as well. I'd say Ty Dillon is a sleeper because obviously, I mean, he's been in the sport before, even though he's not with the best team in the world. But I wouldn't sleep on Ty Dillon to make the 500. He could knock out Cindric or something. You never know. But as far as who wins each duel, this is kind of interesting because each duel is split in half and there's going to be like 20, 21, 22 cars in each duel. So it's kind of hard to pick. But for duel one, I'm going to have Joey Logano winning the first duel. That might be surprising to Matthew because Chase Elliott's in that duel. But
it's not surprising me at all.
I'm going to pick Joey Logano. He's a really good Pro 8 racer, and he tends to be pretty aggressive. So I don't see that letting up at all in the duel race. So Joey Logano is going to be my first pick for duel one. And then duel number two, I got to pick Denny Hamlin because Denny Hamlin has just been on a roll with these restrictor plate races. He's going for his third straight Daytona 500 win, and he won at Talladega in the fall. So, and another fact about Denny Hamlin that they said on the broadcast today is that he finished in the top 4 in each of the restrictor plate races last year. So with that kind of consistency, Denny Hamlin's going to be my pick for the second duel. So Logano and Hamlin are my 2 picks to win the duels, and then Gralla and Cindric are my 2 to make their way in by racing their way into the Daytona 500.
So I already said my picks are who's going to make it in the 500. So my picks for the duels, I'm going to go with the same thing. Joey Logano's going to win the first duel because Penske cars have always been well on restricted plate races. As for the second duel, I'm going to say Kevin Harvick because I think he's also a great restricted plate racer as well. And he's also won a couple duel races. So and he's going to be starting near up the front. So I think he's going to have an advantage with that as well.
That is all for this episode of The Last Lap. Like I said in the beginning of the video, we're going to have another episode dropping tomorrow, and that episode will be recapping the duels to see if we got our predictions right, and we'll also set the field for the Daytona 500, and we're also going to predict our picks to win the truck race on Friday night, the Xfinity race on Saturday, and then, of course, the Daytona 500 on Sunday. So we're both glad that the NASCAR season is starting back up, and we hope you guys enjoy this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one.